Good morning, friends. The subject of my talk this morning is concept of God in Hinduism. I've said that many times in the past. That the word Hinduism was not known to our ancestors. They would call it the perennial religion, Sanatana Dharma. The term Hinduism was created by the British when they ruled India for about 200 years. Anyway, what is the concept of God in this religion? That is the subject of my talk this morning. And this religion, which is called Hinduism, is the most ancient living religion of this world. There are other ancient religions. They got lost in course of time. The religion that the Egyptians had, that was lost. And the religion that the Romans had, that also is lost. But the religion of the people who call themselves Hindus, this religion has existed from the primitive age till now. And one speciality of this religion is that the word blasphemy is not there in it. So all questions can be asked. And the questions have been asked, they've been accommodated, and their answers also have been given. The answers are also there in this religion. One of the questions asked is, what is God or who is God? So that answer is also there in this religion. And it's a very ancient religion. Our most primitive ancestors, I'm born in that religion, that's why I'm saying our most primitive ancestors, they were like other primitive people of the world. They didn't know many things which we know today. So, to them the earth was a round disc. They would sometimes go on the top of a hill and look around, and they could see the horizon, which was round. That's why they thought that this earth was a flat, more or less flat disc, round disc. That's what they thought. And our primitive ancestors, when they would fall asleep, they would have dreams. And in the dreams, they saw many dead people. They seemed to be alive and well, and those people would interact with the dreamer or dreamers. And then, but when they would wake up and look for those people, they were not to be found. That's why they thought that even after death, people go on existing. But why they are not available when the sleep is over? In this world, why would they not see those people? They didn't know the answer until some people pointed out that there was a high-flying bird like an eagle. this it would fly higher and higher and higher and higher, and it would become smaller and smaller. Eventually, the eagle would fly so high that it would become invisible. So they thought there must be a world up there, high up there, which is an invisible world. And they called it heaven. And they thought that this dead people whom one can see in the dreams, when their dreaming is over, when they wake up, then why do they not find those dead people? They existed in dreams, and they thought that those people are up in that world, invisible world. And that invisible world they called heaven. They also had the idea of many gods or deities, because they would see a violent storm coming and destroying trees and houses, and they could not assign any reason for such storms. They knew that it was not created by human beings. So there must be some being who is responsible for this. That's why they imagined a kind of deity who causes these storms and all these winds. And in our culture they would call Pavana Deva. He is a deity. And Deva, the word Deva means someone who shines. So they thought that such powerful beings must have shiny bodies. They imagined that. And sometimes sea water would come during the high tides. And who would cause those tides? Then they imagined a deity called Varuna Deva. This idea later on was adopted by the Greeks also, so Neptune, that idea is there. So, that Neptune, that Varuna Deva is also a deity, and who controls the waters, seas and all. Like that, they used to think that the lightning which would strike people and would cause death to them, or would cause fires also, there is a deity behind them who controls all those things. That's how the idea of many gods came. And then some of them thought that those people who died, not all of them were good, some were bad. Do they also go to the same place high up there, which they would call heaven? And they thought, no, underground there must be a hollow, dark place where there is no sunlight or anything. That's where they must go and they suffer. It was someone's imagination which was adopted by others, it looks like. Then time went on flowing. And eventually, in India, that was a country where people had enough time to think, lie down and think, because several mighty rivers flowed through that land, and that was fertile, and the climate most of the places were tropical climate, not covered with ice as some parts of the world were at that time, during the Ice Age. So, vegetation was abundant, so they could get food, enough food. And they had time to lie down and think. That's my understanding. And these thinkers, some of them had developed great ability to think. They could think of higher thoughts, and they, through their thinking or concentrated thinking, which we call meditation, they started coming to know newer truths. They came to know that this earth was not a round disc, flat disc. It was spherical. Because there is a book, an ancient book there is a chapter called Goladhyaya, which describes spherical things and round things. There this sentence is there in Sanskrit. Karatala kalita lamalakabad amalam vidanti ye golam. That is, the earth is spherical, like an amaloki fruit. And what is an amaloki fruit? It is myrobalan, that is the name. It is like a plum. And said, the earth is spherical just like an amaloki fruit or a plum, which is on your palm. It is spherical. It is not a disc, flat disc. That's how the old ideas of heaven and hell disappeared. And after a while, another thinker, after many years, found out something. And he said, and that is there in one of our holy books called the Upanishads, Katha Upanishad. And so, in the Katha Upanishad, it is there, Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisritam. Whatever exists in this world is vibrating, and it is originated from prana. Prana means cosmic energy. So from cosmic energy, it is borrowed strength, and everything else is vibrating in different frequencies. And we live in a plane of existence which has certain range of frequencies. That's why this world is real to us. But there are many such worlds which are vibrating at different frequencies. And each of these worlds is called a loka, or a plane of existence. When people die, they go to another world, because their physical bodies are shed. But they have a subtle body, and the subtle body vibrates in a certain way, and according to that vibration, it goes to another loka. That's how there are. How many lokas are there? That question has been raised. The answer has been given. Ananta loka, innumerable planes of existence. And is there a creator of all these lokas? That question was raised. answer was given, yes, God is the creator of all these locos. What kind of God? Not like those deities, as one who is capable of creating all these locos must be much bigger and bigger and bigger. So they invented the word Brahman. Brahman means larger than the largest. That is a Vedic Sanskrit word Brahman. Larger than the largest that we can imagine. It is that being from whom this world has come. How the world has come, about that there are many schools of religious philosophy developed in India. But nevertheless, it is true that everything must have a source. So what is the source of these planes of existence, or locos? The source is called Brahman, larger than the largest. And also sometimes it is called Ishara. The word Ishara means it has Aishwarya. Aishwarya means glories. It has infinite glories. So Brahman is beyond time, space and causation. That idea is also there. And so Brahman is transcendental, so to say. But from that this world has come. How the world has come from Brahman, how Brahman has created, about that in the scriptures of Hinduism, such as in the Rig Veda, it is mentioned that when there was nothing at that time, this world evolved gradually. Gradually evolved from Brahman. And evolved from Brahman, and that's how the creation continues. God is not a doer, they say. And how this world was created? Well, we should not ask all these questions, because Brahman is abhang manasogocharam. We cannot, God is beyond speech. We cannot really describe God, Brahman. And we cannot really conceive of Brahman. And why we cannot, that is also there. Because God is infinity. God is infinity, anantam. And God is the ultimate truth. And God is the ultimate knowledge or consciousness. That Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And so when Brahman creates, then we call him Ishara. His glories are used, it is said. But truly speaking, from the point of view of Brahman, there is no world created. This Nasadiya Sutta, which is called the creation hymn, which is in the Rig Veda, that is some ancient sage had discovered these things. That's why it's called Veda. Veda means knowledge. Some ancient seer came to know this. So that is Rig Veda. And it describes beautifully how things developed one after another. And at the end of that Nasadiya Sukta, this question has been raised. Does the Creator know that this world has been created? Perhaps he does not know. It is a highly philosophical statement. So from the Creator's point of view, this world is not there. With the help of that magical power called Maya, the Creator has created this world. Like a hypnotist can hypnotize some people and tell them, look at this elephant standing close to us. They all will see that elephant. Will the hypnotist see that elephant? No, because the hypnotist is not hypnotized. So also, Brahman, with the help of his power or Maya, has created this world. Those who are under the sway of that magic, they will see this world. But from Brahman's point of view, there is no world. Nothing. Wonderful ideas. Now, God. So, Brahman is eternity, infinity, and the only source of consciousness. How can he conceive of that Brahman as God? Well, when human beings who are under the spell of God's magic or Maya, when they try to think of that Brahman, personal, transcendental Brahman, and what they do is that they project the limitations of their minds on that Brahman. And that's how Brahman appears to acquire form, name, etc. That's like, we are like so many, every mind is like a pair of colored eyeglasses. And when through the pair of colored eyeglasses, if one looks at the grey sky may appear to be green, red, yellow, depending upon the color of the eyeglasses. So these are all projections on the sky. So that's why that transcendental Brahman or divinity becomes many divinities. Some look upon that Brahman as father, some look upon that Brahman as mother, some even as a child, some as a friend. All these are projections. That's why there are male deities, female deities, all these concepts, they are there in Hinduism. But then they are all one and the same. That is also the Rig Veda teaches. Ekam sad vipra bahudha vadanti. There is a sentence. There is that existence, divinity, is one, but different sages call the same divinity by different names. And Brahman is also called Sat, Chit, and Anandam. Sat means existence. Chit means consciousness, the only source of consciousness. And Anandam is bliss. God existing, everything else to us appear to exist. appears to exist. God is like a white movie screen. On that, the movie of this world has been projected. So we see in the movies so many movements of characters and so on, mountains, rivers and lakes. But their existence is possible due to the existence of the movie screen, because they don't have any individual real existence. So that's why God, Brahman is existence itself. Brahman existing, everything seems to exist. And Anandam also. Anandam means, what is Anandam? It is translated into English as bliss. There is a reason for it, because English language is very young. And Sanskrit is the oldest language with the largest vocabulary possible among the ancient languages. So this word Anandam is a very special word. God is Anandam. What is Anandam? Our philosophers say that this world is a world of pairs of opposites. If we know darkness, we will know light. If we know joy, we will know sadness or sorrow. Everything comes as pairs. If you know one, then we should know the other of that pair. Many years ago, when I was a young Swami, I visited a famous blind boys' school which he ran near Calcutta. It is in a place called Narendrapur. And in that blind boys' school, there was a principal who was born blind, but he was extremely meritorious. That's why through the Braille method, he started studying and all, and eventually he could go to even England and get a degree. See, that's why eventually he was chosen as the principal of that blind boys' school in Narendrapur. So I asked him, that was so many years ago, I asked him, do you know what we call darkness? Because had he known light, then he would know darkness, and vice versa. That idea he had. And he replied, no, really speaking, I do not know what is darkness. I said, do you know light? He said, no, I have some knowledge of light, but I do not really know what light is. I think that they are opposites of each other, just as hot water is the opposite of cold water. He told me. We sometimes think that those who are born blind, they are poor souls, unlucky. They are always in perpetual darkness. But no, they don't even know what darkness is. Their world is a world of touch and all these things. So, if one knows darkness, one will know light, and vice versa. So, is Anandam something like that? What is the opposite of Anandam? Is it sorrow? They say no, Anandam is different. It is neither enjoyment nor suffering. There is a word called Shanti or peace. Anandam is like Shanti. Shanti also means divinity. That's why in our scriptures we see at the end of the scripture this word Shanti is mentioned 2 or 3 times. Om Shanti, 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 like that. And so what is this peace? Consider a person who is suffering from a severe headache. He is in a state of suffering. Then he takes some painkillers, and after a while his headache is gone. Is he enjoying now? No, it is not a state of enjoyment, nor is it a state of suffering. You say it is called relief from suffering. Not only relief from suffering, relief from enjoyment also. So, Shanti or bliss there, that means this. It is beyond the pairs of opposites. There is Brahman is beyond the pairs of opposites. Brahman is Shanti. And that is Anandam also. And Brahman is the ultimate truth, and it is the highest knowledge, and it is infinity. These things are mentioned in our scriptures. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Also it is mentioned that everything is divinity. Divinity is all pervasive. That idea is communicated through different theistic religions. They say God is omnipresent. God is present everywhere. And this is considered the highest truth. God is present in you. God is present in you, but may not be fully manifested. God is present even in non-living objects, equally present everywhere, God. But God's manifestation differs from one object to another. Those who are equipped with minds, they have some manifestation of divinity in them. And when the mind is developed highly by following certain procedures, such a mind is called pure mind. And that mind, in that mind, divinity is much, much more manifested. And it is such minds which came to know that all was divinity. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma, everything is divinity. Tattvamasi, you are that divinity. Aham Brahmasmi, I am divinity, I am Brahman. Prajnanam Brahma, that means the highest knowledge is Brahman. These are all called Mahavakyas in Sanskrit. In English, it should be called the great sentences. They all say that everything is divinity, everything is God. If these great sentences are saved and the other scriptures are lost, then we shall say that the cream of Hinduism has been saved. Highest truth. So God is the highest truth. Everything is God. That is the teaching of highest teaching of Hinduism. So, and God is alone is real also. What is real? That question has been raised in Hinduism. It said something which does not change and which is eternal, that is real. So the books which you see behind me, are they not real? Is my body not real? But they seem to be very real. But according to this definition of reality, they cannot be called real because they are not eternal. My body is not eternal and it keeps on changing. Books also keep on changing. They become older and older. The pages become older. Anyway, so they are not real. Then one may argue and say, no, this definition of reality is not acceptable. Because I used to be I am very real, and I used to be a little baby, and now I am a grown-up person. Am I not real? So I have changed, but still I am real. And I am not eternal physically. I only exist, my body will not exist forever. So, but still I am real. So this definition is faulty definition. Then those philosophers who believe in this definition of reality, they will say, if you see a being, suppose a rabbit, it keeps on changing every 5 seconds. For 5 seconds it is a rabbit, then it is a puppy, then it is something else. Every 5 seconds it is changing. Then if I ask that person, what is this creature you are seeing? That person will say, I don't really know. Because it is changing. But had it not changed at all, had it remained a kitten all the time, then that person would know. Or suppose you see an elephant standing in the backyard of your home. It exists for only 10 seconds. Then it disappears from sight. Then you start wondering, what did I see? It was not a real elephant. Because had it been a real elephant, it would go on existing for hours, days and years and forever actually. So we also judge reality in terms of changelessness and perpetuity. So Brahman alone is real. This world is an appearance only. As long as we are in this world, in this plane of existence, as long as our knowledge depends on our sense organs, motor organs, and our minds, which are not capable of knowing the infinity. The mind, no matter how efficient it is finite. So this world is not real. We are not real in that sense. But Sri Ramakrishna, a divine incarnation, says, as long as you have the ego, this world should be considered as real. Ego is part of this world. So if you think of yourself as a person with an ego, you cannot deny the existence of this world. Well, I could have given a talk on the concept of God, for hours together. But I have to stop because I have already talked for 40 minutes. And also Hinduism believes in divine incarnations. God incarnates as human beings with full manifestation of divinity in that divine incarnation. What is a divine incarnation? Somebody asked me, a Western devotee, so I will talk about divine incarnations next Tuesday. And I will try to answer his question. Thank you all so much for your patience. Thank you.